Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pestana. And we're here today with special guest, Jane Enright, who's here to share with us her new book, Butter Side Up: How I Survived My Most Terrible Year and Created My Super Awesome Life. Are you facing a planned or unplanned change and just not sure what to do? Well, today, Jane Enright's here to share with us steps to move forward. Jane Enright is an ordinary person who has survived some extraordinary things. An inspiring and humorous thought leader, author, and speaker, Jane is a former kindergarten teacher, strategic planner, and university lecturer, as well as the founder of My Super Awesome Life, Inc. She speaks to audiences seeking answers to overcome a fear of the unknown, grief, stress, loss, depression, anxiety, stagnation, indecision, sadness, and more. From top executives to stay-at-home moms, she is helping audiences through North America land butter side up and find joy after unplanned change. So let's welcome to the show, Jane Enright.
Thank you so much, Marianne. It's both a pleasure and an honor to be here. You are very, very inspirational, and you have some very intriguing and inspiring guests on your show. So thank you very much for helping me join the group.
Well, my goodness, thank you for being here. And it's such an honor to have you here as well. And I've got to ask you, okay, Butter Side Up, why did you come up with that title?
That's a great question. Well, twofold. When I was growing up, I had wonderful grandparents and I spent a lot of time there. And I can remember my grandmother saying to me, I hope you land butter side up on that one. And growing up, I just thought it was an expression. But when I turned to that expression in terms of thinking about how I wanted to land butter side up in my own life after a lot of unexpected change, I also looked into it a little further and found out there was just a plethora of research about buttered toast landing butter side down instead of butter side up. And our tendency as human beings to really think the worst is going to happen rather than the best. So that sort of continued my journey, but started me on my way to naming my book, Butter Side Up: How I Survived My Most Terrible Year and Created My Super Awesome Life.
Well, what a great title that is. And, it's interesting. You start your book talking about change.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about planned, unplanned change. Why was it important for you to start with this?
Again, great question. I think as human beings, we all go through change. Life is change. But, I once had the pleasure and privilege to meet with an organizational change expert called Peter Drucker, who has since passed, but he focused on business change. And I asked him for a piece of advice once, and he said, to me, Jane, nobody likes change except a wet baby. As human beings, we resist things. We're drawn to routine. We're drawn to things that are familiar to us because that brings us a sense of comfort and stability and security in our lives. I felt it was important to explain to readers not only the context of my change, but the context of change as it happens on our lives. Sometimes it's planned, like, wanting to get married or wanting to have children or changing your career or moving on to post-secondary education. But sometimes it's super unexpected, like, sudden passing of a loved one, an injury, an illness, something like a pandemic. I mean, never in the history of our planet have we all every one of us in some way gone through such sudden, rapid, unexpected change. And so that's unplanned change on steroids. COVID is change that can change its mind anytime. So I think it's very important to distinguish between the two types so that when you are going through unexpected change, you can learn not only how to navigate those troubled waters, but also move forward with a sense of purpose in what you want to change for the better in your own life.
I think everyone can understand that because, my goodness, change has happened so much, it feels like, to us the last couple of years. How do we move to a point where we're actually the ones, when change happens, we're actually the ones kind of deciding how that's going to work out for us?
Again, a great question, and one I get asked very often. I think it has, for me, when I was going through this, it had a lot to do with my perspective and how I was seeing the world. I was thrown into a series of very, very unexpected events, including my own personal injury, which was beyond my control, which I thankfully recovered from, to a catastrophic injury in my circle, my former partner, and also a dear friend. So I saw them. I lost things in my life. They lost things in their life. And I very quickly, for me, it was acceptance. So, you're right. How do you get to a point where you're using change to your advantage? For me, it was acceptance. And acceptance isn't always about being happy all the time, but it's accepting that change has happened, like COVID, that our world is different and that we need to change. We often, when we're going through tough things in our life, we look to others to change and we think, oh, well, it'll be better when, say, for example, with COVID, we're back to normal. But that's not going to happen. We often think of COVID as a blip, sort of like a heart monitor, and your heartbeat going up and down. And that's not what this is. It's riding the waves of change. It's how to learn how to go through this, your life with accepting that change is happening and realizing that you can put yourself into a more positive, flexible mindset about where you want to be, because acceptance helps you be a more flexible thinker. It helps you handle what comes next with less fear, and along with outside-in thinking and mindfulness and gratitude, in my opinion.
So I know you talk about in your book just, the difficulties that you went through, the loss and the grief. How were you able to stay so positive after experiencing all of that?
Well, you know what? It's not easy, but it truly was very, very mindful moments in my daily routine. First of all, gratitude. Gratitude is extremely important. Again, as human beings, we tend to focus on what we don't have rather than what we do have. We're sort of hardwired to remember the bad things and the bad moments in our life rather than the good ones. So when you're in the midst of it, it's very challenging sometimes. I woke up every day. I started meditating in the mornings and looking at sort of calming my mind, pre-paving my day, and saying to myself, I can't control what the next 5 minutes is going to bring, but I know that what I can control is my mindset. And that's really about taking back your power. Taking back your power is learning how to respond to events rather than react to them. It's not that we don't have feelings of sadness, but it's saying to yourself, you know what, I'm just going to step back and I'm going to be peaceful and calm in my little space for even 5-10 minutes a day to sort of pre-pave my day. I also wrote down what I was grateful for every day and finished the night doing the same and saying, you know what, I'm so thankful today that, my partner Clayton has made such gains today. I'm so thankful for the supportive friends that I have in my life that are helping me through this. And I truly believe that this is not going to be the same forever. This will change. So it was very intentional, purposeful living and using very things like mindfulness to illuminate the journey, but also looking at gratitude as a support system for me to say, how can I not only be grateful for what I have, and how can I also share my gratitude and support the others in my life that are going through their journey as well.
In your book, you talk about outside in thinking.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Great question. There's another author that has talked about this at length, more so than me. His name is Michael Singer. And I don't know whether you've ever read the book, but it's a fascinating read. It's called The Untethered Soul. And really, outside in thinking helps you visualize and plan the route. It's looking at your life from the outside in rather than the inside out. It helps you see the big picture. In other words, it's putting yourself in the audience of the play and watching your feelings unfold as the situation is happening. So when you observe yourself this way, including your behaviors and patterns, as well as what makes you happy and unhappy, it helps you set your intentions that align with positive new activities and routines after periods of loss. And it also helps you reinforce your mindset. So in the business world, that would be doing an environmental scan. And we have fantastic business leaders like the head of, Apple and Microsoft and all these wonderful corporations out there that are so innovative and do good things. They're outside in thinkers. Any good entrepreneur or business leader can put themselves outside of a situation and say, okay, what are the strengths here? What are the challenges? What are the things I need to be careful about? And how can I take something that's then maybe a loss and create an opportunity? Because from bad things can come good things. So especially during uncertain times, we can look at something like COVID, for example. We can say, you know what, we're not all happy about how this has disrupted our lives. But the good news is we're all in this together. We're experiencing it differently, but it's an opportunity to change. And disasters like COVID accelerate change for the better. They bring to light things that need to change. Things like our healthcare systems to help take care of less vulnerable people, our transportation systems to help them make us more efficient. Talking to you virtually, staying connected, using technology, being able to collectively look at our society and say, how do we get all through this together in a way that makes sense so we can come out the other end better than we were? I think it's also an opportunity when something not so nice happens to say, what do I want? And that's what COVID is to me. It's an opportunity to look at our lives and say, how can I change my life for the better moving through this situation? And what's important to me? What are my priorities going to be? How am I going to live my daily life? How am I going to create new routines and new rituals that I may not have had before so I can enrich my life and bring joy and happiness to my life? Because I really do believe that we're not just finding happiness in our lives, we're able to create that happiness by looking outside in and thinking a bit more objectively. It basically takes the emotionality out of things. And consequently, you're better equipped to be more solution driven and purposeful and adaptable after unwanted change. It makes you a little bit more resilient.
There was a quote in your book about that where you talk about if you don't have happiness, I'm probably butchering this, but if you don't have happiness, that, you go and create it. And I think a lot of times people just don't understand how they can start doing that. But I love how you ask these questions that kind of like, hey, kind of prompt you to looking at things in a new light.
Well, thank you for that. And that's what I really wanted to do with the book. I wanted to not just tell you a story. I wanted to show readers that I'm living proof that you can have happiness and joy after, a lot of hard and sad things, because I really got pummeled. I went through a lot of things that many people could go through, but I went through them very, very fast and furiously in the span of 12 months. And, things that, knocked me for 6. And some days it was just like, how am I going to get out of bed? How am I going to keep doing this? So I think when I said to myself, I'm a very spiritually minded person. And I just said to myself and the higher powers that be, I said, I truly believe that I deserve a super awesome life. I really believe the past is just a chapter, not the whole book. I really, like many people that go through things, unwanted change in their lives, I said to myself, why has this happened? I went inward. And I said, why has this happened? And I realized that I had a lot of skills and strengths from my background as a kindergarten teacher to a university lecturer, a strategic planner, and to be not only an advocate for myself, but for others that were going through their crises. And I really had a great desire to help people not have to have their journey be so tumultuous as maybe mine was. And I learned some things along the way. And I really do believe there's no mistakes in life, just lessons. So I tried to take those lessons and turn a negative into a positive. And now I have a super awesome career that I never thought I would have. I never grew up wanting to be an author. I always admired people who could write a book, but I never thought I would write one. And I certainly never thought that I would be able to be talking to someone like you, who's inviting very, very special people onto your program to share their thoughts and ideas in such an important time in our lives and our generation, where we all do have to come together and help each other and be kind and share our knowledge in ways that's constructive and help each other.
Well, Jane, we definitely need more people like you in the world. Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Jane Enright in regards to her new book, Butter Side Up. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
If you want to stop divorce fast, you do not need to waste years in therapy. You do not need to work on yourself, and you do not even have to have your spouse on board. If your spouse wants out, if they're filing for divorce, separation, or having an affair, what you need is a proven process to turn your marriage around. Book a free breakthrough session with us at highthrivecoaching.com/apply.
Dr. Richard London, who has 25 years of experience being known as the Man of Steel with the Heart of Velvet, presents the Life Wellness System, The Road to Yes, a mentoring system that brings you to becoming a wellness heir. Imagine having wealth, wellness, love, peace, and spirituality in abundance and balance now. Visit doctorateoflife.com or call 720-213-8021 for a free 15-minute wellness evaluation.
Hi, this is Jana Wilson, author of Wise Little One, Learning to Love and Listen to My Inner Child, a best-selling prescriptive memoir in inner child healing. I'm also the founder of the Emotional Healing System. The inner child, simply put, is your feelings, both positive and negative. If you'd like to learn to love and listen to your wise little one, pick up my book at Amazon or visit my website at janawilson.com. It's never too late to have a happy childhood.
The first thing you need to know about me is that I love my kids, but they are not my everything. They used to be, but that's when my entire life fell apart. In order to pick back up the pieces, I had to put the love I have for myself before everything else, including my kids. I'm Jessica Dennehy, and I own multiple businesses. I'm a best-selling author, and I have all the strategies that I've used to make my life what it is today. And I'm going to teach you how to do them in my new book, Selfish is a Superpower. So go get your copy today on Barnes & Noble or jessicadennehy.com.
Announcing a revolutionary tool for wellness. Scalar Light has the ability to enhance and harmonize your own bioenergies. With Scalar Light, you can get started in just minutes and begin feeling better the very next day. Scalar Light is a remote energy that gently and subtly works with your own body's bioenergies, increases pro-cellular wellness, and enhances your body's immunity.
Experience the benefits of Scalar Light. Try a complimentary 15-day experience at scalarlight.com.
In your hands lie ancestral patterns. These patterns shape how you think, what you struggle with, and experiences you love, your life pattern. We're going into the latest neuroscience of biological hand analysis, a realm beyond palmistry where science and the soul entwine. Hand analysis is the latest method to transform lifelong patterns. I am Master Hand Analyst Brent Bruning. Join us and visit thepowerinyourhands.com.
Pandemonium. Fast forward 20 years. A U.S. president seizes control of all U.S. missiles, the power grid, the banking system, and every computer in America as he hides in an underground bunker. Pandemonium, a captivating sci-fi thriller where a hidden war, psychics, aliens, artificial intelligence, and transcendental love collide with the latest media technology. Pandemonium, live to all devices. Get your copy on paperback or digital. Free sample at getpsychic.org.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest, Jane Enright, who's sharing with us her new book, Butter Side Up: How I Survived My Most Terrible Year and Created My Super Awesome Life. It seems like with your skill set, you're just the perfect person to write this book, because here you've got this education background, planning background. And I think a lot of times people, while they may have understanding and a good message, they may not know how to execute it.
Exactly. And that's what the difference is in Butter Side Up. And also Jane's Jam. I have a companion, I call it a playbook, being released in November 1st, 2022 with She Writes Press as well. And as a She Writes Press author, I'm very, very grateful that I'm in the company of such wonderful women that are writing about their experiences. So Butter Side Up it is part memoir. I tell you a story, but I try and tell you how I used humor, and also my friend and my closest friend, my partner, who we really needed to dig deep through some tough times and use a little humor and lightheartedness along the way. So I tried to tell you and show you how I did that, but also give you some food for thought along the way. It's some tips and tricks about why outside-in thinking and mindfulness and gratitude are so important. People spend a lot of time and money looking at mindfulness. They spend a lot of money going to retreats and, practicing yoga and doing energy work and doing spiritual work, which is all very, very important. But the real reason we all do that is to keep us in the present moment and calm our minds, because we want to stay out of sadness about maybe the past and maybe becoming a little too anxious about what comes next. And that's really fear. Fear is really what change is all about. People are fearful of making the wrong choice. If something's happened, they may be fearful of, oh my goodness, what if I make a wrong choice? What if I'm not happy in this job? What if I make a choice to change my job or quit my job and change my career? What's going to happen? Am I going to make money? Am I going to be successful? Same thing with relationships. Oftentimes people stay in situations that I talk about it in the book, I think in chapter 3, going to the office, where complacency and familiarity is often stronger, even if it's negative, than making a change. So that's why sometimes looking at things outside in and saying, if I were a friend and I was in this particular situation, what would I say to myself? What advice would I give to myself? And then surrounding yourself with the tools that you need and the support system that you need, which is very, very important, especially now. It's very, very important to stay connected. And that's why the work you're doing is so essential, is that you're helping people like me not only help me build, not only share my message and share with others and make things better, but also you're bringing us together collectively to help each other in a way that we really need right now.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for that. You just made my day.
Well, you made mine. Thank you.
In your book, you have, okay, so I'm going to put you on the hot seat a little bit here.
Sure.
So you have the OMG philosophy.
I do.
Okay. I would love for you to tell us about that.
Okay. Well, we talked about outside in thinking, and really OMG, when something unwanted or unexpected or unplanned happens, we often say, oh my gosh, oh my God, what's next? And that's the fear in us. We just talked about that. That's the fearfulness to say, it's actually a cry for help, I think, to the universe. Is you're asking yourself inwardly what comes next. And as I said, outside, the O in OMG is not, oh my gosh, it's outside in thinking helps you visualize and plan the route. That outside thinking, that stepping outside of your inner circle and looking at the big picture, is really what makes you think about, how can I take advantage of opportunities and avenues I may not have thought of before. The M is the mindfulness. The M is the mindfulness supports you to navigate the journey. Just as a good speaker knows the importance of pauses between words, and similarly, taking things one day at a time and staying in the present and being mindful are key to navigating stressful situations, particularly ones involving uncertainty. So, for example, like you, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the next 5 minutes is going to bring, but I know what I can do today to help my day be better. Is it spending time with my friends and family? Is it allowing time for me to have time to myself so that I can take care of everybody else? Right now, we have a lot of people that are my age in the sandwich generation, maybe you too included, that have elderly parents that are very challenged and fearful about COVID, or we have young children, grandchildren, or our own children that we want to look out for. We can't take care of everybody else until we take care of ourselves. So kind of pre-paving your day, being mindful, saying, what do I need today? Taking one day at a time. As I said in Butter Side Up, it can seem like maybe one long AA meeting, as they say in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've never been there, but they have a great premise. One day at a time. What can I do today to change my life for the better for tomorrow? Gratitude is the G. It's taking these principles every day, doing a little bit of outside-in thinking, practicing some mindfulness, and then practicing gratitude, because gratitude really illuminates the path. And that's really the safety net in the OMG, because gratitude is an affirmation of goodness. And when we're expressing gratitude, we're expressing gratitude for what we have and thankfulness for rather than what we don't have. When we're kind to others, that's an expression of gratitude. So, for example, random act of kindness. I don't know about you, but I notice since we're into, COVID, into the second year, oftentimes I run into people that want to have a long conversation, whether it's, they take the time, whether it's the cashier at the grocery store or the bus driver or the person on the street that says, hey, how are you? How's your day going? For that person, it may be the only contact that they have that day. We don't know. Being kind to ourselves, expressing gratitude, and being thankful for what we have basically helps us respond to change, especially the unpleasant kind. Because recognizing what we have to be grateful for after unplanned and unwanted change can be challenging, but it's also the anecdote to acknowledge things, even small ones that we're thankful for, that helps us gain control over what's happening in our lives. So I can't control a pandemic. I can't control if I develop, have an injury, or if something, a natural disaster comes, or my flight is delayed for 8 hours. I can't always control that, but I can control how I respond to it. And I can be thankful that I'm safe. For example, I had the exact same thing happen, at the airport a few weeks ago. We're all experiencing delays in the airport. I had the most wonderful conversation with people I never would have met. And I said, boy, I'm really grateful that I'm safe, that the flight was delayed so they could fix the plane. And I'm sitting here talking to wonderful people. So it basically helps you bounce back. It helps you quickly reframe your thinking into getting out of that hamster wheel, that loop of negativity that we can swim in. You had a guest, I believe, Nancy Collier, that talked about that. It's just a tool that you can use very, very quickly, whether you're going through crisis or just, experiencing your daily life and wanting to create your super awesome life after change.
There's a quote in your book that I really appreciate, and it's believing is having faith in yourself despite your circumstances. You can do anything. And I just love that, because a lot of times we can really kind of get in the weeds on how we feel about our capabilities.
You bet. And, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. We can be our own worst critic, and that confidence, that fear factor. And that's where, too, it's very important, I think, as you're going through change, understanding that sometimes your friends change. I know that there's a lot of people now whose friends have changed because maybe they're at a distance. They can't travel to see their friends, or maybe, that somebody might have a health concern that somebody else doesn't have. And that's where it's important to say, you know what, things don't have to stay the same. I don't have to respond to things the way I maybe did 3 years ago. I know now I'm a much more patient person. And having faith is that inner voice that says, you know what, no matter who is talking and saying that you can't do this, you can. And I experienced that when I was writing the book. I had people that I hardly knew that said, good for you, way to go. What's it like writing a book? I've never done that. And wow, I really hope you're successful. I also had people in my life that, gosh, I'd spent scads and scads of time with them, and they never brought it up. So, that's where it's important to say, if you believe in yourself, miracles happen, because you're not always going to get that from other people. You're not always going to get that cheerleader. You have to be your own inner cheerleader. You have to be your own inner quarterback and say, I believe I can do this. And I also believe in the power of affirmations. I tell myself each day what's possible rather than what's not. And it works. It works for me, and I know it can work for others.
I can understand why people are sometimes quiet because we push against the boundaries of their beliefs in themselves. So they're probably thinking, gosh, why can't I write a book? Maybe I should be writing a book. So who knows what catalysts you are for these folks, you know?
Well, I hope so. And you know what? Again, it's all about, we're all going to accomplish different things in our life. And sometimes we accomplish the smallest changes can mean the greatest change. And not only just for us, but for others. We really don't know the impact we're going to have in our life, on not just on our own lives. Sometimes the smallest decision can be, can make everything just change for the better. And if I hadn't decided to take a leap of faith and write Butter Side Up, who knows what I would be doing right now. But I'm so grateful to myself that I did that. I started writing in 2019. I never realized that I would be writing during a book about unexpected change during a pandemic. I mean, and I saw COVID for me as a gift, because really what I went through before it was like a dress rehearsal for COVID. So when COVID hit, I said to people, this is awful and this is hard. But I've been through hard stuff and I know I can get through this. I have faith I can get through this, but I also have faith that I can use my strengths and skill set to help others get through something similar that I've already lived through.
Yeah, it's that saying, you can't take someone where you haven't been. And it really kind of shows. I really loved your book, Butter Side Up. I thought it was such a great read and such an inspiring read. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Well, and thank you for that, because you know what? I'm a newbie. I'm new at this. I started a whole new career, in my 50s that I never thought I would have. So they can go to janeenwrightauthor.com. They can also go to mysuperawesomelife.com. They can go to Instagram, Jane Enright Author, Facebook, and I drop me a line. I always say, write to me, tell me what you need, and I'd love to hear from you.
Well, Jane, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
And thank you, Marianne. I really value what you're doing, and you are inspirational. I quickly went through your podcast list when I received the invitation, which I'm very grateful for. And I've enjoyed listening to some of the podcasts, some of the guests that you've had on, because you do have a knack for picking very unique individuals with a similar message. So we're all saying similar things, but we're all saying them in a different way. And it's fun to share knowledge, and it's also inspirational to me too. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Jane. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Butter Side Up: How I Survived My Most Terrible Year and Created My Super Awesome Life. Butter Side Up's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And if you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it. Make sure to visit Jane's website at janeenwrightauthor.com for more information on her work and to be part of her community. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.